wanted to introduce you again to the REWUKIL, our new product. The principle of the REWUKIL: we have installed wheels on the sides and do not drive it. Flat, like with the cassette change systems of other cylinder mowers that offer something like this, because they have a rear roller that flattens it afterwards. They also comb it up or tear it upwards and then drive it away again. Flat. We don't have a front roller and we don't have a rear roller. That's why we aerate, we ventilate. The lawn surface and the blades of grass remain standing and do not become flat. Driven, that's a principle we've deliberately chosen, and that's also a bit where we differentiate ourselves from other manufacturers. First of all, I wanted to talk about how to assemble this thing. Just tighten the handle upwards, not downwards, with the 2 screws. The handle is intentionally loose. It's not tight and has a stop at the bottom screws, so that when I turn, I can lift it up. These screws need to be adjusted equally on both sides, according to your height. The handle is not screwed on in the new condition in the box. It's very important to mount this disc between the housing and the handle. Before we get to the individual cassettes, we have our height adjustment here. We need to adjust it to the lawn cutting height, depending on how high the lawn cutting height is. We do this by simply turning the knurled screw, also a stepless height adjustment. It's best to just push the device forward and set the appropriate height. Now I wanted to tell you, introduce the cassette change system and simply install and remove a cassette. For that, we have the regular tension screws here that are screwed into the holes. To remove the cassette, you simply unscrew it and take it out upwards. And these are the 2 holes where we later secure the cassette so that they don't fall out. If we now take a different cassette, for example a broom cassette, we just need to make sure that with the drive unit, insert it straight in from the top and simply place the cassette down onto the shaft. Tighten it all the way until it stops. Just turn the screws. It has to fit exactly into the hole. With that, we secure the cassette. Now the cassette is securely in place and we can get started. The brush cassette speaks for itself. The word brush explains it, but it can do much more than just brushing. First and foremost, it's meant to evenly distribute the sand after top dressing. The cassette also naturally collects everything. It picks up possible debris from the ground like a broom. This is our fan cassette. It has a lot of spring elements that are designed to be very soft and gentle. The principle is, like any other fan cassette, to remove the dry thatch from the lawn. We intentionally chose very thin spring elements here so that we can comb through the grass blades as gently as possible, allowing it to really give way. This is a very gentle method because it operates at a very low speed and it's also a handheld device. And so we can't damage our lawn at all. With motorized devices, it can actually happen quickly, that if you set it too low, the cassette will dig in. Go, and in no time we've damaged the lawn area. That can't happen with this device. This cassette is also designed for surfaces that are a bit uneven because the spring elements give way quite a bit. This is my favorite cassette. It works really well. Pushing forward is super easy because it bounces back so easily. And the effect is really good and gentle. And I use it before every mowing session because this cassette really gently combs through the lateral grass blades. It combs through the flattened grass clumps. And afterwards I go over it with my handheld spinning rake Falkenstein and cut the grass blades healthily instead of tearing them. This cassette is called a vertical comb. It's not a vertical cut because there are no tips, blades. This cassette also doesn't work on the ground. And it's also the most aggressive cassette. And with this cassette, we really need to have a very, very even surface. As soon as there are bumps, it becomes blocked and you always have to start again. So we only recommend this cassette to those who have a really super flat surface and regularly sand it. And that's why with this cassette, just like with the aerator cassette, we stand the grass blades up so that they no longer grow sideways. But it's definitely a much more aggressive type than the aerator cassette. That's the big difference compared to the vertical cassette. The vertical cassette that's available on the market, does it tear vertically or does it mow? It cuts vertically like a sickle mower. We have a different principle. We comb up gently. And afterwards we follow up with a sharp reel mower. Here we have as the first spring elements those that are supposed to scratch up a worm mound from below. And the rear spring element then takes the whole pile and throws it into the collection basket, or even without a collection basket. The whole thing is supposed to work like a rake, like you would do by hand. And with that, we want to make the whole process a bit easier by working line by line with the whole device on our lawn. We can save ourselves a lot of time. It's a very elaborate cassette. Everything is made of stainless steel, the screws, the shaft, the spring elements. That's a spring steel, it rusts barely. It's not like any other stole, but it's very, very low in terms of rust susceptibility. Yes, what else can the cassette pick up from worm mounds? It can pick up everything that's lying on the lawn, whether it's chestnuts, acorns, or branches. Of course, we can use the device to collect the cores after aerating or to pick up the dry thatch from the lawn after airing. Basically, anything that's lying on the lawn. Of course, it has to be said that it's a device that's about 40 centimeters wide and it's really not meant for properties that are 1,000 square meters. The basket also fits with the Falkenstein. You can of course order the REWUKIL without a basket. It works well too. The basket also fits in the new version Falkenstein. It's identical in construction. The suspension is the same. In the earlier versions we still need a different suspension. But in the latest series everything fits perfectly. Our basket isn't too big. With leaves, if you do it daily and don't neglect it, and if you don't have too large a property, it works well with leaves, acorns and branches. All sorts of things that are lying around on the lawn.